The luminous vastness of Kuiper Observatory's viewing dome offered little comfort to Dr. Lyra Nova as she frowned at the anomalous data scrolling across her screen. For the third consecutive night, her instruments had detected it. Infinitesimal fluctuations in subspace energy, rippling across the galaxy like whispers too faint for anyone but her specialized equipment to hear. The readings originated from Kthar space. That much was clear, and they were spreading, causing minute trembles in stellar sensors throughout monitored space. "Computer, run diagnostic sequence Delta 9 again," she commanded, tucking a strand of dark hair behind her ear. Her colleagues had long since retired to their quarters, leaving her alone with the stars and her growing apprehension. The computer confirmed what she already knew. The equipment was functioning perfectly. These readings were real. Lyra sighed heavily, straightening her posture as fatigue settled into her shoulders. She was young for her position, 32, and already heading deep space phenomenon research, but moments like these made her feel ancient. What she was detecting wasn't natural. The pattern was too regular, too purposeful. And with the long-anticipated peace talks between the Terran Federation and the Kthar Empire about to commence on Ares 6, the timing couldn't be more suspicious. She tapped her communication console. "This is Dr. Lyra Nova, Kuiper Observatory. Priority transmission to Terran Federation Security Council." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "I've detected anomalous subspace energy fluctuations originating from Kthar space. Pattern suggests artificial origin, possible new weapons technology, or large-scale activity. Requesting immediate analysis and security evaluation in light of upcoming peace negotiations." She attached her data, marked it urgent, and sent it through official channels. Then, after a moment's hesitation, she forwarded a copy directly to Admiral Eris Thorne's office. The veteran commander headed security for the Federation delegation, and she'd heard he possessed both a pragmatic mind and a reputation for listening when others wouldn't. 3 days later, Lyra's knuckles whitened as she gripped her desk edge, reading the official response from Federation Command. "Thank you for your vigilance, Dr. Nova. After thorough analysis, our experts have determined the detected fluctuations fall within acceptable parameters for known natural phenomena. No evidence supports your hypothesis regarding Kthar weapons development or threat assessment. The peace process remains our highest priority, and all resources are directed toward ensuring its success. Please continue your regular research duties." It was signed by an aide to Ambassador Valerius Kane, not even by the ambassador himself. "Acceptable parameters," she muttered, pushing away from her desk. They didn't even run a proper analysis. The stars continued their imperceptible trembling beyond her viewport, as if trying to warn her of something only they could see coming. Admiral Eris Thorne stood ramrod straight on the command deck of the TFE Dauntless, his weathered face illuminated by the tactical displays surrounding him. At 63, his close-cropped silver hair and the deep lines around his eyes spoke of decades of service, while his sharp gaze betrayed none of the weariness that occasionally plagued him during the long watches of space duty. "Admiral," his communications officer called, "we're receiving the final security protocols for Ares 6. Ambassador Kane has requested minimum military presence during the talks. He believes an overwhelming show of force might send the wrong message to our Kthar counterparts." Thorne controlled his expression carefully. "Acknowledge receipt. Inform the ambassador that we will comply with all diplomatic protocols while maintaining standard security readiness." As the officer turned away, Thorne's personal terminal chimed with an incoming message on official channels. A minor breach of protocol that immediately piqued his interest. The sender, Dr. Lyra Nova, Kuiper Observatory. He'd never met the woman, but her reputation preceded her. Brilliant, if somewhat eccentric, and with an uncanny ability to detect patterns others missed. He skimmed her report, eyebrows rising incrementally as he processed the implications. Subspace fluctuations originating from Kthar space, undetectable by standard arrays, but picked up by Nova's specialized equipment. His instincts, honed through 3 interstellar conflicts, stirred uneasily. Lieutenant Ilara Vance approached, her trim uniform marking her as his communications and technical intelligence officer. Sir, Ambassador Kane's shuttle will dock in 30 minutes. He's requested your presence for the welcoming. Thank you, Lieutenant. He transferred Nova's report to a secure data chip. Before that, I want you to analyze this data. Complete privacy, no? Records. Use the isolated systems in technical intelligence. Her eyebrows rose slightly, the closest she'd come to questioning an order. Yes, sir. May I ask what I'm looking for? Patterns that shouldn't exist, he replied. And if they do exist, what they might mean if you were planning something you didn't want your enemy to know about. As Vance departed, Thorne gazed through the viewport at the looming silhouette of Ares 6 station. The massive installation hung against the backdrop of Mars, its neutral territory designated for the historic peace talks between humanity and the insectoid Cthar after decades of Cold War. Peace would be welcome, necessary even, but Thorne hadn't survived this long by ignoring his instincts. And right now, they were screaming. Admiral Thorne. Ambassador Valerius Kane strode forward, hand extended in greeting. Tall, slim, and impeccably dressed in diplomatic formal wear, he projected the perfect image of a man convinced of his historic role. How splendid to see you. I trust your journey was uneventful. Perfectly routine, Ambassador, Thorne replied, accepting the handshake with appropriate firmness. They stood in the main reception hall of Ares 6, a grand chamber designed to impress with its soaring ceiling and panoramic views of Mars below. Federation and Cthar banners hung side by side, a symbolic gesture Thorne found premature. Excellent, excellent. Kane lowered his voice, his expression earnest. I cannot overstate the importance of these negotiations, Admiral. After 50 years of hostility and the catastrophic Proxima incident, we finally have a chance for lasting peace. The Cthar have made unprecedented concessions just by agreeing to these talks. So, I understand, Thorne replied neutrally. Kane studied him, a flicker of annoyance crossing his features. You remain skeptical. Cautious, Ambassador. It's my job to be cautious. Of course, but please remember, Kane's reply was interrupted by the station's announcement system. Attention! Cthar delegation shuttle approaching. Docking in 15 minutes. All honor guard personnel to positions. Kane's face lit up. They're early. A good sign, Admiral. The Cthar value punctuality as a sign of respect. He straightened his already immaculate attire. I must prepare to receive Ambassador Krell. Please ensure your security teams maintain absolute discipline. The Cthar interpret even small gestures incorrectly. As Kane hurried away, Thorne's communicator vibrated discreetly. Lieutenant Vance's message was brief, but sent his pulse quickening. Analysis complete. Results concerning. Request immediate private conference. The Cthar delegation moved with unsettling synchronicity as they processed into the Great Hall. Ambassador Krell led them, his 8-foot frame encased in ornate chitinous armor that clicked softly with each step. The translator device at his thorax hummed to life as he approached Kane. Esteemed Ambassador Kane, the mechanical voice intoned while Krell's mandibles worked in his native language. The Cthar Empire brings greetings of peace to the Terran Federation. Ambassador Krell, you honor us with your presence, Kane replied, executing the shallow bow the Cthar preferred to physical contact. May these historic talks bring a new era of cooperation between our peoples. From his position behind Kane, Thorne studied the Cthar delegation with a soldier's eye. Their movements were fluid, deliberate, and revealed nothing of their true intentions. Krell's compound eyes, multifaceted and iridescent, swept over the assembled humans, lingering briefly on Thorne himself. The Admiral met that alien gaze steadily, unwavering. Krell's mandibles clicked, a sound the translator didn't convert. Was it amusement? Contempt? After decades of conflict, humans still struggled to read Cthar expressions. The formalities continued, a choreographed dance of diplomacy that Thorne endured with practiced patience. All the while, Lieutenant Vance's message burned in his mind. Hours later, as the initial reception concluded and the delegations retired to prepare for tomorrow's formal negotiations, Thorne finally slipped away. He found Vance waiting in his secure office aboard the Dauntless. "Report, Lieutenant," he ordered the moment the door sealed behind him. Vance activated the holographic display. "Sir, Dr. Nova's data is exceptional. She's detected something our standard arrays couldn't, a subspace scanning wave of unprecedented subtlety. The display filled with intricate patterns of energy signatures. These fluctuations aren't random. They're a coordinated scan, Admiral, mapping our entire defense network in granular detail. They can penetrate standard shields and even identify structural weaknesses in stations and ships. It's the most sophisticated surveillance technology I've ever encountered." Thorne studied the patterns. Could it be natural? No. "Sir, the pattern is too regular, too directed. And there's more." Vance's expression darkened as she manipulated the display. "I cross-reference with our deep space monitoring buoys near the buffer zone. There's an enormous energy buildup occurring in Cthar space, carefully masked, but detectable when you know what to look for." The display shifted to show a massive concentration of energy readings, far larger than anything that could be explained by routine Cthar fleet exercises. "Scale?" Thorne asked quietly. "Based on these readings," Vance replied, "they're assembling the largest fleet we've ever detected. Conservative estimate. At least 300 capital ships plus support vessels." Thorne felt ice in his veins. "And this information was dismissed by command?" "Not exactly, sir. According to records, it was acknowledged but classified as speculative and insufficient to justify security concerns during sensitive negotiations. The directive came directly from Ambassador Kane's office." Thorne's jaw tightened. "The Cthar aren't here to negotiate peace. They're preparing for a massive strike, using these talks as cover while they map our defenses." "It appears so, sir." Thorne paced the small office, mind racing through options, each less palatable than the last. "If I present this to Kane, he'll dismiss it. He's invested everything in these talks succeeding." "Sir," Vance said hesitantly, "there is the emergency defense protocol. As ranking military commander in a potential first contact combat situation, you have authority to communicate directly with the president if you believe there's an imminent threat." The suggestion hung in the air between them. Using the EDP would effectively bypass the entire diplomatic chain of command, a career-ending move if he was wrong, and potentially peace-destroying if he was right, but the threat could have been managed diplomatically. Thorne's communicator chimed. A message from Dr. Nova. "Admiral, urgent update. The stellar tremors are increasing in frequency and intensity. Whatever the Cthar are doing, they're accelerating their timeline. I've detected a massive surge building in subspace. We may have hours, not days." Thorne's decision crystallized. "Lieutenant, prepare a secure channel to President Vance on Earth. Emergency Defense Protocol Authorization. Thorne Alpha 70 Proxima." "Yes, sir," Vance responded, fingers flying over the console. Channel establishing. Minutes later, the stern face of President Elara Vance appeared on the secure display. Her expression tightened at the sight of Thorne's grim countenance. "Admiral Thorne, the emergency defense protocol is not invoked lightly. Madam President, I apologize for the unorthodox communication, but I have credible intelligence indicating an imminent Cthar attack. The peace negotiations appear to be a deception." As Thorne presented the evidence, Nova's data, Vance's analysis, the hidden fleet buildup, the president's expression grew increasingly grave. "Ambassador Kane assures me the Cthar are sincere," she said finally. "He staked his reputation on these talks. With respect, Madam President, the evidence suggests otherwise. The Cthar are using a sophisticated subspace scanning technology to map our defenses while masking a massive fleet buildup. And according to our most recent intelligence, whatever they're planning is accelerating." President Vance was silent for a long moment, her eyes distant as she processed the implications. "You realize, Admiral, that acting on this intelligence means abandoning peace talks 50 years in the making." "Yes, Madam President. And if I'm wrong, I'll accept full responsibility." Another long silence. Then, Very well, Admiral. I'm convening an emergency session of the National Security Council. Stand by. The screen went blank, leaving Thorne and Lieutenant Vance in tense silence. On Kuiper Observatory, Lyra Nova worked feverishly, correlating new data as it streamed in. The subspace fluctuations had evolved, revealing a terrifying new dimension she'd only just begun to understand. It's not just surveillance, she murmured to herself, hands shaking slightly as the implications became clear. It's a weapon. The trembling stars weren't merely being observed, they were being weaponized. The Kthar technology could create destructive resonance at the subspace level, capable of simultaneously disabling or destroying Federation energy systems and FTL drives when activated. An entire fleet could be rendered helpless in an instant. She had to warn Thorne. This wasn't just about exposing deception anymore. It was about preventing catastrophe. 3 hours later, Admiral Thorne stood rigidly before an apoplectic ambassador, Kane, in the secure Federation compound on Ares 6. "Have you lost your mind, Admiral?" Kane hissed, his face flushed with anger. "The President can't possibly be considering withdrawing from these talks based on your paranoid interpretation of anomalous data." "The decision has been made, Ambassador," Thorne replied evenly. "The evidence was presented to the National Security Council and judged credible. The Kthar are planning an attack, using these talks as cover while they complete their preparations." "Evidence?" Kane scoffed. "Some irregular energy readings from an eccentric astronomer in your own biased analysis? You've been looking for excuses to sabotage these talks from the beginning." "I've been doing my job," Thorne countered, "and now I have orders to implement immediate withdrawal and defense protocols. You'll destroy everything we've worked for." Kane's voice rose dangerously. "Generations of hostility finally about to end. Or culminate," Thorne interrupted. "President Vance has authorized me to inform you that the official announcement will be made within the hour. I suggest you prepare your staff for immediate evacuation." Kane stared at him, speechless with fury and disbelief. "History will remember this, Admiral. It will remember you as the man who destroyed humanity's best chance for peace." "Perhaps," Thorne acknowledged, "but I'd rather be remembered that way than as the man who allowed the Kthar to annihilate our defenses because he was too afraid to see the truth." He turned away from the ambassador's glare, activating his communicator. "All Federation military personnel, this is Admiral Thorne. Implementation of Protocol Exodus begins immediately. Evacuation procedures are now in effect." The announcement echoed throughout the galaxy. "This is President Ilara Vance of the Terran Federation. It is with profound regret that I must inform the citizens of the Federation and the greater galactic community that we are unilaterally withdrawing from peace negotiations with the Kthar Empire, effective immediately. Credible intelligence indicates that the Kthar entered these negotiations in bad faith, using them as cover for surveillance operations and preparation for military action against the Federation. This deception cannot be tolerated. I have ordered all Federation forces to high alert status. All citizens in border regions are advised to follow emergency procedures established by local authorities. To the Kthar leadership, we entered these negotiations with sincere hopes for peace. Your actions have demonstrated that you did not. The Terran Federation remains open to genuine diplomatic solutions, but we will not be deceived, and we will not be unprepared for aggression. That is all." The message terminated, leaving billions across the galaxy in stunned silence. On the bridge of the Dauntless, Admiral Thorne oversaw the evacuation of Federation personnel from Ares 6. The Kthar delegation had responded to the announcement with ominous silence, retreating to their quarters without official comment. "Sir," Lieutenant Vance called urgently. "Incoming transmission from Dr. Nova. Priority 1. Thorne activated the comm. "Dr. Nova, this is Admiral Thorne." Lyra's face appeared on screen, her expression tight with alarm. "Admiral, the stellar tremors, they're not just for surveillance. It's a weapon system. The Kthar technology can create destructive resonance at the subspace level. They could disable our entire fleet simultaneously when activated." "Are you certain?" Thorne demanded. "Absolutely. The pattern evolved enough for me to identify its true purpose. Admiral, whatever they're planning, it's happening now. The intensity just spiked to unprecedented levels. As if to confirm her warning, the tactical officer called out, "Sir." Multiple FDL signatures detected emerging from jump points throughout the sector. Kthar warships, hundreds of them. The main view screen filled with the terrifying sight, a massive Kthar battle fleet materializing from FDL jumps, their chitinous hulls gleaming dully in the starlight. The sickle-shaped vessels moved with precision, forming attack formations. They were waiting, Thorne realized, just outside sensor range. Our withdrawal forced their hand. All ships, battle stations, he ordered. Defensive formations Delta 7. Prepare for. His command was cut short as something extraordinary began to happen. The stars themselves seemed to flicker, their light pulsing in an irregular but somehow purposeful pattern. The phenomenon spread rapidly across the visible starfield. "What the hell is that?" someone whispered. Lyra's voice came over the comm, filled with awe. "The trembling stars," they're responding. "Admiral, something is happening on a cosmic scale." Before their astonished eyes, a wave of energy unlike anything in recorded history swept across space. It passed harmlessly through Federation ships, but struck the Kthar fleet with devastating effect. The alien vessels convulsed as their systems failed catastrophically. FDL drives overloaded and detonated. Energy weapons. Power down. Shield collapsed. And when the Kthar attempted to activate their resonance weapon, the technology that had caused the stellar tremors in the first place, it backfired spectacularly, creating a feedback loop that destroyed the emitters and cascaded through their fleet. "My God," Lieutenant Vance breathed. "It's like the stars are fighting back." The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as the mighty Kthar armada disintegrated before them, without a single shot fired by Federation forces. The few vessels that survived began retreating in disarray. On his flagship, Grand Marshal Forlag of the Kthar, architect of the deception and planned attack, died as his command center exploded around him. His final thoughts a mixture of rage and incomprehension at the cosmic force that had intervened. In the days that followed, the Kthar Empire collapsed into internal chaos. Without their military leadership and main fleet, the rigidly hierarchical society fractured into competing factions. The threat they had posed to the Federation vanished virtually overnight. Dr. Lyra Nova found herself at the center of an unprecedented scientific investigation. Summoned to Earth, she led a team of the Federation's most brilliant minds in studying what was now being called the stellar response. "The data is extraordinary," she explained to Admiral Thorne and President Vance in a secure briefing room beneath Geneva. "We've discovered traces of an ancient cosmic energy network, likely left behind by some precursor civilization that disappeared eons ago. It appears to be designed to maintain a form of balance or protect early life forms." Holographic displays around them showed the intricate patterns of energy that now connected stars throughout the galaxy, faint but undeniably present. And our withdrawal from the peace talks somehow activated this network. President Vance asked, her brow furrowed. "Yes, though not the withdrawal itself," Nova clarified. "It was what the withdrawal represented, a rejection of deception and potential large-scale violence. Our action appears to have satisfied some criteria within the network, triggering it to act against the clear threat posed by the Kthar." "Are you suggesting the universe itself has moral preferences?" Thorne asked skeptically. Nova smiled slightly. "I'm suggesting that whoever built this network did. They encoded their values into a system sophisticated enough to identify threats to those values and act accordingly. The Kthara's planned attack, using their resonance technology, violated those encoded principles. And the network is still active," President Vance observed, studying the displays. "The stars are still shimmering," Nova supplied. "Not trembling with distress anymore, but shimmering with a kind of steady attention. They're watching, in a sense. The network remains alert. What does this mean for humanity going forward?" Thorne asked. Nova's expression grew thoughtful. It means we're not alone in a way none of us anticipated. Not alien civilizations as we understood them, but something more profound, a legacy left by those who came before, perhaps as a form of protection for those who would come after. President Vance rose from her seat, moving to the window that overlooked the rebuilt city of Geneva. Then we have a responsibility to understand this legacy and interact with it respectfully. She turned back to face them. Dr. Nova, I'm authorizing the establishment of a new cosmic research institute under your leadership. Your mandate will be to study this precursor network and develop protocols for peaceful interaction with it. Nova's eyes widened. Madam President, I'm honored, but you discovered it, Vance said simply. You understood it when no one else could. There's no one better qualified. Later, as the meeting concluded, Admiral Thorne found himself walking alongside Nova through the underground complex. I owe you an apology, Doctor, he said, if I had dismissed your findings as others did. You didn't, she replied. You listened. That made all the difference. They reached a juncture where their paths would diverge. She to the temporary research facilities, he to the military command center. What do you think it means? Thorne asked suddenly. That something so ancient would intervene on our behalf. Nova considered the question carefully. I think it means we're part of something larger than our conflicts, Admiral. The trembling of the stars wasn't a warning about war. It was a reminder of our deep connection to everything else and the responsibility that comes with intelligence. And now they're shimmering. Yes, she smiled, watching and waiting to see what we do next. 6 months later, Dr. Lyra Nova stood alone on the observation deck of the newly constructed Cosmic Research Institute, built on a remote plateau in the Himalayas. Below her stretched the nighttime panorama of Earth, its lights twinkling in the darkness. Above, the stars filled the sky, no longer trembling with fear or anger, but shimmering with quiet beauty, promise, and mystery. Somewhere among those distant points of light lay the remnants of the Cthar Empire, now fractured into smaller, less aggressive states. The Terran Federation had established cautious diplomatic relations with several of these successor states, finding them far more open to genuine peace than their predecessor had been. Ambassador Kane, after initially resigning in protest over the withdrawal, had eventually acknowledged his error when the full extent of Cthar deception became clear. He now served as an advisor to the diplomatic corps, humbler and wiser for his experience. Admiral Thorne had received the Federation's highest honor for his actions, though he maintained that he had simply followed his instincts and the evidence before him. His fleet now operated with a new understanding of its role, not merely defending against conventional threats, but preserving the delicate balance they had unwittingly touched. As for Lyra herself, the once overlooked astronomer had become a pivotal figure in humanity's new journey. The institute she led had already made remarkable progress in understanding the precursor network, though countless mysteries remained. She reached out a hand toward the stars, as if she could touch them across the vast distances. "We hear you," she whispered. "We're learning. We'll try to be worthy of your trust." The stars continued their gentle shimmering, neither approving nor disapproving, simply present and watchful. A reminder that in the vastness of space and time, the choices of even small, young species like humanity could resonate in unexpected ways. The future stretched before them, unknown but full of possibility. The stars would be watching, and this time, humanity would be watching back, reaching for understanding rather than dominance, wisdom rather than power. And somewhere in the cosmic dance, Lyra believed the ancient ones who had crafted this network might be pleased by what they saw.